I'm still scared. I mean, there's still fear with everything, but I'm just stepping up. I'm like, okay, I'm here to tell whatever the stories are that are coming through me. But I have to make myself available to them. I have to do the work to receive the inspiration, to be in the right place at the right time, to put the right teams together, to all of it.
You're listening to Inside Acting, a podcast dedicated to demystifying the inner and outer game of success in the entertainment industry. I'm AJ Meyer.
And I'm Trevor Algott. Your announcer voice is in full force this morning, man. And coming up in episode 244, we have the third and final part of my chat with actress and filmmaker Sophia Savage. We dig deeper into her filmmaking process in this third and final part, including what she looks for and values when it comes to assembling a team, how all her films are basically her putting herself through film school, some timeless wisdom picked up from famed director Werner Herzog, and what she's up to next. That and a lot of cool stuff coming up in episode 244. So stick around.
Support for this episode of Inside Acting comes from Rehearsal Pro, the next version of Rehearsal, the essential app for actors. It's now available in the iTunes App Store, so check it out. If you want to learn your lines, be off book for your auditions, explore your character, and make stronger choices, and do a whole lot more, go to rehearsal.pro/IAP, as in Inside Acting Podcast, right now to learn about all the great new features in the new version of Rehearsal, the groundbreaking app designed by actors for actors. That's rehearsal.pro/IAP.
Good morning, AJ. How's the wildfire smoke ash situation treating you over there in your part of town?
I was going to say, the announcer voice is me just trying to make up for the fact that I am like, I'm sucking in ash from a fire that's quite a ways away.
I haven't actually been like tuned into the news or anything. I just kind of woke up this morning and looked out my window, and I thought it looked awfully orange outside for 6:30, 7 a.m. Can you what's going on? I mean, obviously it's been super hot here. It's going to get even hotter the next week or so. So it's just like the state is just continuing to burn.
There's a fire in Santa Clarita. For those of you not in Los Angeles, this is it's pretty far north of where we are. The smoke and we're pretty far south. We're about as far south as you can be and still be considered sort of in the LA area. And it's still like we had to close our windows last night, sort of button up. And I'm all sniffly and coughy, so
some years in LA the wildfires get so bad, and there's supposedly like a year-round thing now. Like that's climate change for you. They used to just be a summer thing, and now they're just pretty much all the time because it's so hot and dry in this state. And many years they've actually said like, if you belong to like a sports organization that has outdoor workouts, forget it. Illegal. You can't do that anymore right now because it's just too much of a health hazard.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, let's pull in a little bit and get a little micro here and talk about your week. What's going on? You had a meeting for NCIS LA?
It's on Monday, so actually, yeah, by the time this goes live, by the time this episode is published, I will have already had the meeting. It's interesting. It's a multi-day guest star with 2, maybe 3 lines because it's a Middle Eastern bad guy. What else is new? For me anyway. And he gets captured by the agents, LL Cool J captures him. And what a cool story.
Could be worse.
What a cool story to be able to tell people. It's like, I got captured by LL Cool J. Anyway, and then they try to interrogate him for the rest of the episode and he doesn't say anything. So multi-day guest star with like 2 or 3 lines. So kind of interesting. But anyway, there's not really any big takeaway. I'm excited to go in and do the audition. There's a lot of physical stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, that physical stuff in the audition room is always so interesting because it's like, how far do I go with it? How cheesy do I get with miming this kind of thing? You know, when I auditioned for Midnight Monster, the audition scene, like I was like, you know, tied to a chair and getting punched in the face a bunch, and I was like, oh shit, how do I do this and not seem like, you know, delusional or crazy or whatever? And I just totally mimed like getting punched, and it worked, but it's one of those things where you're like, how do you handle it? So how are you going to handle this physical stuff? How physical is this meeting?
It's not too bad. I mean, it's a little bit of that, you know, what you were just saying. It's a little bit of like sitting in a chair and miming them like handing me a phone that I smash on a table and stuff like that. So, you know, there's definitely some stuff. I think that a lot of casting directors don't care that much as long as you have like the physical idea of what is happening in the scene. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to focus on like, you know, at one point he hits somebody with like a clipboard or something. So I'm just going to use my sides for that.
Okay, cool.
You know, that kind of thing. I think most casting directors, like, they get it. It's an audition. You know, it'll be different on the day, and you'll have a fight choreographer and everything. Like, there's going to be, you know, some well staged action.
Has it crossed your mind to diffuse the potential awkwardness of a very physically active audition with any sort of comment or preface of any kind?
Oh, I'm definitely, yeah, that's going to be, you know, Jonathan Prince, who is a really well-known writer, director, producer, who comes into Howie's from time to time, every couple of years. He is a big advocate for breaking the fourth wall before you start your audition, to like just create a human connection with the people on the other side of the table. So my question for this audition is going to be something along the lines of, all right, how are we doing this, guys? Like, how are we going to make this work? You know, and you know, the thing is they're going to be dealing with actors all day, you know, having the same question. So at a certain point, they're probably going to have like a very set way of doing it, or at least that's how it. I've noticed that it works, especially in like commercial auditions. They're like, all right, you're going to walk in, you're going to hit this mark, you're going to turn there, you're going to hand them this thing, you're going to look over there, you're going to high five, you're going to blah, 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 da, da, da. Okay? All right, let's practice it once. Okay, good. Here we go. You know, they do that a lot in commercial auditions, so I imagine they'll have something sort of lined up.
That's really exciting, dude. I'm excited to hear how it goes, and those physical auditions are always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast, and I'm doing that thing that we talk about on the podcast. I'm figuring out who I know and who I can reach out to. There's an actor that's a series regular on the show now, or has been for the last few seasons, that I know through a mutual friend, and also I think it is a CBS Studios production. So my hope is that the manager of casting that I had my meeting with, you know, about a month ago, has some kind of purview over this. And you know, obviously it's not the casting director's job to cast someone, so what she can do is already done, right? I'm getting in the room, and I don't know if she had anything to do with that, but you know, it won't hurt to reach out and be like, hey, you know, since our meeting, this is my first time coming in, and I'm excited.
Cool. All right, well, this episode of Inside Acting is also brought to you by vo2gogo.com, the award-winning voiceover training system and winner of Backstage's Reader's Choice Award for Best Voiceover Training 4 years in a row. You can visit vo2gogo.com/start to get access to a free Getting Started in Voiceover online class that'll really set you up to win and help you add voiceover to your acting portfolio. So that's gogo.com/start. And we've got two questions we wanted to offer our thoughts and response on. And the first one I'm going to kind of defer to you, AJ. This comes to us from Corey. And Corey wrote us with this a few weeks or maybe even months ago at this point. So Corey, thanks for hanging in there and being patient. The core of her, see what I did there? Core. The core of her question.
I'm sure she loves that.
Or her situation is, she says that she's currently based in New York City. She's freelancing, or I think hip pocketing is the term that you've used, AJ.
In LA, yeah, they say freelancing in New York and other markets, but in LA,
look at that! It's a regional thing. I like that.
It is a regional thing, yeah.
Okay, so she's freelancing with an agent that she likes in New York City, and this agent sends her out quite a bit, but she has yet to book anything with this agent. And since they're only in a freelance relationship, they're not signed. There's no contracts yet. She was wondering how much she should advertise her relationship with this agent, given that she may end up freelancing with another agent as well, since, that's the perk of having a freelance relationship after all. So she's wondering, should she use her resume that has this current freelance agency relationship contact information? Should she use that on her resume for the auditions she's going to, or just the ones that this agent sends her out on? On her website, she also asks, should she be listing this agent's contact information under the Contact Me page, or should she just have the direct contact info? So basically, it's like, how formal how formal should she be treating a freelance relationship, given that there's the potential for other agent relationships and that nothing is sort of set in stone yet? I've never had this experience, so I know you have, AJ. So,
yeah, I've been hip pocketed for a long time by agencies.
Cool. So what would you say to Corey on this?
So I think this really, it's funny. It doesn't seem like it, but it really does come back to relationships, which we talk about all the time on the podcast. It really comes back to your relationship with the agent. If it's going well and you like this person, and clearly they're getting you out quite a bit. It doesn't hurt to have, the contact information on your resume and maybe on your website. I don't know. The website thing is I'm a little on the fence about that one. As actors, very often, now this hasn't happened a lot on the podcast, or, with Trevor and myself, but it does happen a lot. And I don't know, maybe, there's no such thing as should, but I was going to say maybe we should, it should be happening to Trevor and myself. But very often what happens with actors is we do change, like Corey said, we change relationships with representation all the time. So you might have a new agent every year, every few years, a new manager every few years. And so for casting people tend to keep actors' material on file, and they will remember you even if it's years later. And they'll pull that out, and if you're not with that agency, they call that agency like, oh, he's not with us anymore. She's not being represented by us anymore. Then they have your personal contact information there, right, to reach out directly to you. Of course, they can always find you on something like Actors Access or something, and that should have your up-to-date representation information. But coming back to what I was saying about the relationship with the agent, if you're going out on stuff that you're self-submitting for, let's say, and you don't have their stuff on your resume, you don't have their information on your resume, are you doing that because should you book that, you're going to keep 100% of the money? Or if you book that, would you still give them 10% out of a show of good faith? That's what I always chose to do because, they are working, especially in a relationship where she says she's getting me out a lot. That doesn't always happen when you're being hip-pocketed or freelancing with an agency. They're not, you're not necessarily getting a lot of meetings through that relationship because you're not on their full roster, or you're not fully on their roster, however you want to put that. So the fact that she's getting you out a lot, that's kind of cool. That's showing that she's actually investing a lot, even though you're not under contract with her. So that was my choice, but you get to make your own choice, and anybody listening to this gets to make their own choice on the matter. So if you are going to keep 100% of what you make on a job that you self-submit for, then don't put her stuff on your resume because, you're you're choosing not to have that relationship come into this new one you're making with a producer. That's fine. I also get that having an agency's watermark on your resume is a little bit of a marketing and branding thing. Someone out there thinks I am good enough to send me out and vouch for me and put me in front of, casting people because they think I'm good enough to, actually book professional work. So that watermark is kind of like a branding thing next to your name and your headshot that's on the other side or whatever. So, there's also that it adds a little bit of legitimacy, especially if the agency is well known and if the person is connected and has relationships. And you never know when one of the things you self-submitted for and got called in for, if that person has a relationship with your representation.
That's a big thing to consider. Yeah.
Yeah. So they see the watermark on there and they go, "Oh, you're with so and so. That's great. How's that going?" And then you don't mention that you're freelancing or being hip pocketed. You're just like, "Oh, it's going great. Yeah. No, she really gets me, and I get out a lot because of her." Mm-hmm. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, so it sounds like the sort of safest bet that would demonstrate the most faith in this relationship is to include both contact information, both this freelance agent's and your personal contact info on a paper resume on the back of your headshot for now.
I think so. And of course, there is the issue where she says, what if I start freelancing with another agency? Because that is always a possibility, and then it's like, well, first of all, give me the problem. That's a good problem to have. Second of all, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't really have an answer for that other than to say, make sure that you keep track of who's sending you out for what, where your auditions are coming from, and make sure you just use that person's or that agency's watermark for that audition. Because you can't, if you have two on there, it might be confusing. Although, I don't know, the casting director is not going to be the one negotiating the deal. The producers are the ones that are going to negotiate the deal with the agency who submitted you. So, I don't know. It's not really our problem beyond that. Like, once you book the job, obviously our job is just go in the room and be good.
Yeah. I do want to say, just quickly, because we're tight on time, that I do think it's a good choice, a supportive choice to always, always, always pay your agent their 10%. Regardless of whether or not they helped you book the audition, regardless of whether or not it was something they sent you out for. Because not only does it strengthen the relationship and demonstrate faith, but also it kind of, it's a nice, good person thing to do. And if it comes down to a situation where, a studio or a network is asking that agent to send their top 3 picks for a role or a project, and those 3, that character, that role is your type, and maybe this agency's got 4 or 5 people they could submit. If you're in that list, they might just bump you up from position number 4 to position number 3 because you have been so good about keeping them in the loop on the work that you're booking yourself. And so you never know, and I think it's it's a business, and businesses are transactional, and they run on, relationships and goodwill and integrity. And I think that it's a good practice to just always default to allocating 10% of your income from an acting gig to your representation, to your agent representation. If it's a manager, I think it's 15% is the standard. But always allocating that percentage to your representation, regardless of whether or not they had a hand in you booking that role, because it's part of the deal, right? All right. Well, Corey, hope that helps. Hope that is something you can take and run with. We have one more quick question we wanted to respond to from Erica. Erica is writing to us from Melbourne, Australia. That was awful. She says she's originally from the States, born in Boston, moved to LA, then Miami, but has been back in Melbourne for 6 years now. And she says that she's an actress, has been for a long time. But the scene in Australia is a bit blah, she says, as in they don't work, that there's not as many work opportunities in Australia as there are in the States. At least says her Aussie acting coach who was in the States for 20 years. And I think we've heard this before on the podcast, that's also the case. But she's she's enjoying finally doing the work after some time off. But she just had a baby 11 months ago, and she hadn't started any acting classes or anything until this baby was born. So her question is more of a comment, actually, a solicitation, as it were. She would like to know what we think about late bloomers, and if there are quite a few actors who have made it in their later years. But what are our thoughts? And we actually have responded to this before in the podcast, and our general response has always been, age is kind of just a number, kind of not. When it comes to the industry, yes, it's an industry that more or less capitalizes on young, pretty people. But for every young, pretty flash in the pan, there is someone who didn't start booking roles until their 40s or 50s and blew up and has been enjoying a wonderful career ever since. I know that sounds like an exaggeration. Like, Trevor, you got to be kidding me. For every young, pretty person that books a role, you're telling me there's one person with a thrilling, long career? Maybe not one-to-one, but plenty of examples of people that work steadily. I mean, people that you may not know by name, but they're working constantly in regional theater, doing bit parts on television shows all over the world, not even just in the U.S., domestic market or their, respective domestic market. So if you're willing to do the work, if you know your type, and you're willing to do what it takes to build those relationships and just keep showing up, you're going to find success. I really, really believe that, regardless of your age, regardless of what you look like. If you know what you're delivering, what you're providing, then it's going to happen for you if you keep at it until you're really good. That's my thought on, quote unquote, late bloomers. Anything that you would add to that, AJ?
No, I mean, like you said, we have addressed it on the podcast before, and I don't think there's such a thing. It's something that you can always, what is it, the saying that there's no such thing as like being rejected from acting? Like, rejection is a myth. Like, you can't actually ever be told you can't act anymore, right? So regardless of whether or not you're going out for like quote unquote professional deals or professional gigs, you can always be doing something. And I've heard there's a pretty great, theater scene in Melbourne. And I think a lot of the television shows that get shot in and produced in Australia are actually shot in Melbourne versus Sydney or, Perth on the other side of the continent. So anyway, I 100% in agreement, Trev. There's really no such thing as a good time to start or a bad time to start or being too late.
Yeah, I think it's an unsupportive conversation that we can all let go of. Let's roll into part 3 with Sophia Savage. Some really good stuff in here for the filmmakers listening. If you are ready to rock with your film, there's a lot in here you can take away to light a fire under your butt and get going. So here it is, part 3 with Sophia Savage. We'll catch you guys on the other side. Empyrean had very little dialogue. It was almost completely based on imagery and moments and just sort of being with this moment that was happening. And the dialogue, a lot of it felt almost improvised. One common mistake that a lot of beginning writers and filmmakers do is that they'll just pack that script with as much dialogue as possible. And I love the way that you really pulled back on that and just let the images and the moments speak for themselves. So was that a conscious choice, or did that just how the story evolved?
So thank you. So I wrote the Empyrean script I wrote when I was in a writing workshop at my acting school, verbatim. Like, it was the first draft of the script I wrote like right after my dad died. So it was like, okay, I have to write a script and my heart's just been ripped out. I guess I should write about this. And all I could bring myself to do was like write scenes as I remembered them. Like things between me and my mom, me and my dad, whoever, just like the dialogue that they spoke, just the way it happened. It was just completely, I didn't make up anything. Wrote the script, left it alone for a couple months, came back to it at some point and was like, this is kind of good. And I think I did, kind of having been removed from it, I think the state I was in when I wrote it was so like, I don't know what just happened, but like, I just like took care of my dad as he was dying and now he's dead. And now like, what? It was so like, I just didn't understand. And it was a way for me to put it on paper. So then coming back to it months later, I could have a little bit more perspective and be like, wow, like that's what I went through. Holy crap. Like that's crazy. And I think I probably tinkered with the script then. And then again, went away, came back to it maybe a year after my dad died. And I remember like it was sometime in July. I remember sitting with a friend at like someplace in West Hollywood and just being like, I'm doing it. I don't know how, but I'm doing it. And I started assembling my team, started tinkering with the script a little bit more, added a few. There's one character that was a fictional element. Aside from that, it was all kind of based on the true story, but kind of tinkered with it and started to see it more as, okay, this is going to be a film, and how do I need to express the story visually, not just through what I remember. And through that period, the dialogue probably got pared down a little bit. And then when we were shooting, we definitely shot more dialogue than what is in the final film. But so we tried improvising some things, like we would run a scene with all the dialogue. And then there's one in particular where I was just like, let's just do the scene with no dialogue. Like the emotional exchange is the same. It's going to result in the same person leaving and the same person being left, but like all nonverbal communication. Let's just see if it works. And it did. And that's what we used in the final film.
I love that.
And there's another scene that we didn't use at all in the final cut because it wasn't necessary. Mm-hmm. And we shot I kind of insisted on having a long shoot schedule because I wanted to shoot the script and then have plenty of time to improvise. And a lot of what we improvised, which was really me and my cinematographer just being like, we're going to follow you guys. And I would kind of feed the actors like a dynamic, like, okay, you and dad are doing this and he just told you this and try that and just see how it goes. And we would just follow them. And it was magic. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but that when you prepare your actors well, when you cast it well, you choose the right location, and you give your actors what they really need and none of what they don't, the improv is just the most magical
That's the most
part.
magical thing, yeah.
And it's not like, let's just improv for fun. Like, I knew I wanted to use the improv stuff. I knew I wanted to get the dialogue scenes so that we had it. But my hope was like, if this improvisation works, that's going to tell the story emotionally in a way that the dialogue can't.
Yeah.
So when I was editing, the first cut I was editing with someone else, and it got us part of the way there. I submitted that version to a lot of film festivals, spent a lot of money, but was not happy with it.
You said when the first part you were editing it was someone else? What do you mean?
I was co-editing with somebody else.
Gotcha.
I had never edited before, so I thought I needed to, and he had been, co-producing with me, but long story short, it wasn't working out, and I kind of finished it, feeling like, oh, there's all these deadlines, I just needed to be finished, so it was finished, and then I spent all this money for film festivals and wasn't having any luck and didn't like the film. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get, a friend gave me some editing software, and I recut it and cut like 11 minutes out.
Wow.
And
so the original was almost a half hour.
It was 29 minutes, I think, and now it's like 18.
Yeah.
So cut out a lot, got a lot more experimental, just really found pieces of footage that spoke to my heart, like the parts that felt the most like I did during that period of my life. And I was like, I don't know if people are going to get this. It might be too ethereal and out there and not clear enough, but the whole film was like, it was such a cathartic thing for me. And I was like, if it's such a hard thing to articulate what I went through. So I was like, if I feel while I watch this film, that it's communicating something about my own experience that even I have a hard time understanding, then maybe other people can relate to my story or their own story. Because everyone's going to go through this if they haven't already, losing a parent. It might not be to brain cancer. It might not be the dynamic that my family had, but like, it's going to happen, you know? So I was much more happy with that second edit, and really highlighted that improvisational spirit that we had, which was, I'm so glad that I had the team around me that I did, because they really trusted me. And I think it was just out of respect for it being my own experience that they really, I think everyone felt like there was something kind of magical going on. Like we all kind of had to surrender to what was meant to happen and just let it unfold. And it did. And I watch the film now and I'm like, as a filmmaker, I'm like, wow, I feel like I've learned so much since then. But I'm also really proud of it because I had never directed something before. And to tell that story as like a debut, I can't imagine being more exposed or vulnerable than I was with that film in terms of as an actor, as a writer, as a director, as a daughter, as a sibling, as everything. It was like, not only is this like me stepping out into the world of like what it is to be a director and potentially, or an actor, and you know, all the criticism that can come with, and like, here's like this thing that has torn me apart and my family apart. Here it is. You know, but it felt great.
Yeah.
In a weird way. It was like, now it's out.
It's really refreshing to hear this process, because I know a lot of people, and we've had a lot of people on the show, nothing wrong with this, but you know, they meticulously storyboard and break down their scenes, and everything is sort of put in place before they even shoot. Then they shoot it, they get all the shots, all the angles, they go to the editing room and they completely reconstruct the film exactly as they'd envisioned it originally.
And there's no soul. Well, maybe.
I mean, sometimes, but it's
I mean, I do that stuff too, to be clear. Not always, but I am very much type A and do a lot of homework in pre-production. But the reason I do that is so I can get on set and throw it all away.
Yeah.
Just like with acting, like, do your homework, use whatever technique you've learned, whatever book you've read. Like, there's a gazillion different techniques and tools you can use as an actor too. So use it to prepare. But when you show up, throw it away so that you're actually living it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, everyone knows you're acting.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing. As an actor, you don't want people to look at you as like Sophia acting as this character. It's like, no, please forget that it's me. If I'm doing my job, you will. You know, you got to throw the homework away, but you got to do it. It's weird, but
yeah, I love that.
Works.
Yeah. Well, there's freedom within structure, and you have to start with the structure in order to have that freedom to play. Because then you sort of know what's out of bounds and what's not. And that's great. So, do you feel like you've got a certain style emerging?
Well, do you think Total Moon and Empyrean were?
I can tell that
companion pieces of similar style.
Yeah, they have a similar feel to them.
I mean, yeah, they're both slow, weird, disturbing, moody, lots of natural light and outdoors and sparse dialogue. So yeah, but then I just finished one that I would have showed you before I came, but it hasn't been color corrected yet. But I shot it last March or something. It's new.
Cool.
That one is totally different. Totally different.
And you wrote, directed, produced,
all of the above.
Okay, cool.
And it's so weird, and it's kind of horror-ish.
Oh shit!
Which I never thought I'd do a horror, and it's not, but it's flirting with horror, and it's all like handheld found footage, all the stuff that I don't like, typically. But the way, again, it was like what I was dealing with. Ideas I had, a location I wanted to use, a dynamic I wanted to play with, and it all came together pretty fast. And I shot it with my friend Amanda Adrian, who's also in Total Moon, and it came out of her and I kind of commiserating over what it is to be an actress in this industry. And It's weird.
A horror film
is,
about being an actress in this
I mean, it's
industry.
weird. And it's, there's other films that it's a little bit of a cliche in terms of like, oh, it's about actresses, blah, blah, blah. But I feel that I used found footage and this situation in a way that I haven't seen before. And it was an experiment. All of my films are like, it's me putting myself through film school, and this is just like another class, another experiment. And I think it worked. Not perfect, but I think it worked. It's very weird for me to watch.
What's it called?
It's called Victim Number.
Okay. All right.
Which was a working title. All of my films, I've given them working titles, and then I never changed them.
You also did another one. It was like it was dark. It was like a little girl in a ballet class that kills her teacher.
Yes.
Did I just give it away? I gave it away.
That's okay. No one's ever going to see that one again, probably. I only made that as part of my application to the AFI Conservatory.
Oh, cool. Did it work? Did you get in?
No. But I went to Werner Herzog's Rogue Film School this year in Munich and, sat across from him at a table and was like, I'm not really a film school person. It kind of goes against like everything I believe in. But like, I need help. I don't know what else to do to like make my career go somewhere, and like maybe AFI will be good for me and I'll learn more and I'll get more connections and blah, 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 blah. And Werner Herzog, and if none of you know who he is, you have to go find out because he's amazing.
Most haunting
and you have to go
films.
find something with his voice, because it's his voice that's really great. So he says to me, you don't need film school. Why? He's like, it's a waste of your time. You do not need film school. Don't go. He's like, I mean, you can, but like you shouldn't, because you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money.
He's got a new master class, and he says the same thing. I've watched the trailers for it, and he's like, why the F would I need to go to film school?
I mean, there's reasons. If you have parents that will pay for it and you want to be connected and get a job based on who you know, go to film school. That sounds really horrible, but I don't know. Was raised by wolves in New Hampshire. Mm. So it feels like it would be cheating to go to film school now and just rely on some connections and kissing the right ass and all that. It's just, I don't think I would have the same self-respect that I do now. Just knowing it's like, yeah, okay, well, they'll probably make more money and their careers will go better, but I've earned whatever I get.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I think you're doing all right for yourself. I really, really enjoy your work, and I can't wait to see Victim Number and whatever other projects are coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I have 2 feature scripts. I want to direct them. If anyone listening wants to help me find money. I've produced all my own short films out of necessity. I don't really consider myself a producer, but I guess I am. But producing a feature is something a little outside my expertise.
It's a big step up. Yeah. I want to ask you one more question, because I know we got to wrap up, but I want to ask you one more question before we get to our final 2 questions.
Okay.
So 3 questions.
Great.
And that question is, I get the sense that you have a very, or you at least put a lot of emphasis on a healthy working relationship with your cinematographers. Because the way your films are shot and paced, like I can tell that it's very much a team effort, and especially just the way, like the mood of everything. So can you talk a little bit about how important it is for you to find a cinematographer that you enjoy working with?
Cinematographer is the first person I cast.
They're really the other director.
Yeah. And I think it is a team effort. It's a collaboration. I don't want to work with a cinematographer who's just going to do what I tell them. I know what I like. I definitely can pull references and for what I like and what I don't like, but I don't have the technical expertise that a cinematographer does, nor do I have the set of eyes that they have. So I don't want the camera operator who just points and shoots. I want someone who's going to bring more to the table than I can alone. And I want them to be excited about engaging with that process. Chase Irvin, who did Empyrean, was the first person I brought on board, and that film would not be close to what it is without him. That collaboration was great. He was very patient with me as I was, figuring out how to be a director and what to do, but he really trusted my vision and he trusted my taste, And I trusted the same with him. We were just very simpatico with like, what do we like? What looks good? What do we need to value here? It's all performance, has to be truthful, you know? So he had a good time because I think I was like, I want you to experiment and explore as much as I am. So that was great. And then for Total Moon, I worked with another great cinematographer named Drew Dawson. And he, you know, I think he wanted me to be more directing things, which was fine because that was our setups were like very intentional, not really moving shots. It was a very different style, but he and I, you know, talked a lot about how to kind of use this incredible environment and how to frame everything and just the pace and he, I mean, as you can see, he's very talented.
That house, man. Where did you find that house?
It's in Big Sur. Location is everything.
Yeah.
So yes, the cinematographer, like, to me, they are magicians because they understand things, and in their mind is all very technical. But to me, what they do is magic. Just the fact that a camera can record an image, like photographs, still baffle me. So let alone film, right? Or digital cinematography. So it's all magical to me, and I am super blessed that I've been able to have these cinematographers like my writing enough that they go on the journey with me, you know? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love that. We have two questions we like to ask all our guests before we wrap up. And the first one is, do you think, or do you feel that this journey, this experience, this industry, this life path chose you, or that you chose it?
I think we all have, maybe not all. I think I was called to step up, and I could choose not to. But I am choosing to respond to the call, you know, and like the, what is it called? The Joseph Campbell hero's journey, right? Yeah. There's like there's the call, and then there's like the refusal of the call. And I probably had the refusal of the call for a while, where it was like, it was obvious to everyone else that this is what I was meant to be doing. And I was like scared. And I'm still scared. I mean, there's still fear with everything, but I'm just stepping up. I'm like, okay, I'm here to be used for this, whatever this is, to tell whatever the stories are that are coming through me. But I have to make myself available to them. I have to do the work to receive the inspiration, to be in the right place at the right time, to put the right teams together, to all of it, you know. It's absolutely a choice, but it is a choice in response to something else, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I feel like there's probably a great quote that says what I just tried to say.
We'll find it. We'll stick it in the show notes. And then secondly, if you could take all your experience, all your mistakes, all your huge wins, take everything and condense it down into one little nugget of wisdom to pass on to somebody who is looking to do something authentic in the entertainment industry, what would that nugget of wisdom that you'd pass on be?
Can I quote Werner Herzog?
You sure can.
So he says, when I did this course with him, the best little nugget he gave, and he gave a lot. He says, or he talks about the economy of the soul. You know, you need to do what is doable. He's all about being rogue and finding a way and breaking rules and breaking laws if you have to like get the story told or to get the shot, whatever it is. So do what is doable. But there is an economy of the soul. And meaning you can, once it's spent. And you have to keep it intact and be aware of when you're kind of flirting with disaster and on the edge of like, if I do this thing, is it going to compromise my soul? Because that's not worth it. Nothing is worth it in this industry to compromise that. And nothing in any industry, in any situation, is worth compromising your soul, whatever that means to you. You know, to me, it speaks very much to me when he says that. But I think it's really sage advice, because there's so many things that seem seductive and seem like a good idea and seem like maybe they're going to help and maybe it's going to work out, but just know when to recognize, like, if this is going to compromise the soul.
That's powerful.
Because you might fail at everything else, but if you have that, you're fine.
Yeah.
Because you can't, nothing can buy that back once it's gone.
Yeah. Sophia, if people want to find out more about you and what you're up to, where can they go?
My website for directing is savagesophia.com. And for acting, it's sophiasavage.net. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Instagram is at Savage Sophia. It's not that exciting. I don't post lots of selfies, but there's other things in there. I travel a lot, so it's kind of a glimpse into the things I care about. I'm shooting a feature in Kansas this summer.
Awesome.
I'm really excited. It's my first feature, and it's with another director who did Werner Herzog's seminar a couple years ago, and hopefully that'll be coming out soon. And I have my film victim number, and if anyone's interested in, I don't know, I don't really want to do the festival route, but it's probably what's going to happen. So yeah, if anyone watches my work and wants to collaborate, I'm super down.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hope you don't get completely flooded.
I mean, not like super down, like for
invitations.
anything. I'm very picky, but if people respond to my work and if any of what I just said makes sense to people, then I'm always excited to meet like-minded artists who kind of believe in the same values that I do artistically. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Sophia. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hey folks, welcome back. There's some really great stuff in this section, and I haven't heard it, but I read through your notes, Trev, and it's so funny because, how often has it happened where, you or I have some stuff going on in our personal or professional lives, and then the interview that comes along hits on those same themes, and she talks about magic in this section, and that's my pick of the week. Anyway,
yeah.
It's just great stuff.
Yeah, lots of good quotes that I pulled from this. As you have heard, I'm very inspired by her work and really excited to see what she's doing next. And it's just so much good stuff. Like between this and Blake Robbins' interviews and Brandy Ford's interviews, there's just a wealth of information about how to make your own film and really do it right. Set yourself up to win from the very beginning. So also, I just want to mention that one thing I'm going to start doing is taking the full interviews, unedited, full interviews, all bunched together into one, long thing. And we're going to post them in the membership. So people who would like to go back and reference those or just have them on hand, they'll be able to access and download the full interviews without us talking on each end. So it's a little bit easier for them to re-listen to everything in one hit. So
I love that.
Another little perk for the membership.
Idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. All right, so speaking of magic, you said, and this is something that I am so behind on. You said you're late to the party. I'm even later to the party. Your pick of the week.
Yeah, I know I'm late to this party, but Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I think it was Timothy Patrick Waterman, our PR social media guru. He's been doing such a great job, by the way. Hi, Tim. He was posting this in our project management system that we use for the podcast, saying like, oh my God, everybody has to listen to this or read this or whatever. I've been listening to the audiobook. I'm not finished, but the reason it is my pick of the week is because, well, I'll give you two. I said I'm not finished, and even though I'm not finished, I have already laughed and cried really hard. Laughed really hard and cried really hard listening to this. It is unbelievable. And the second reason is it is unbelievable because it is, in Tim's words, such a love letter to artists. she says multiple times, and I do believe that this is true, that the ideas in the ideas in the book, or the overall sort of thesis of the book, does not just apply to artists. It can apply to anyone, because she believes that creative pursuits and creative results can come from, anyone, engineers, doctors, accountants, whatever. And so it really can be for anyone. But obviously because it is, about living a creative life, people who are creative will just eat it up. And it's so inspiring, and it will probably change the way that you look at your art and the way that you live your life on a daily basis, as far as your relationship to your own creativity.
Wow.
So anyway, there's a link to the book on Amazon. But,
and you said you're listening to the audiobook?
I'm listening right now. I'm just listening to sections of it on Audible.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to read the whole thing cover to cover.
That's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and she narrates the audiobook, right?
She does. Yeah, it is all her.
I could listen to her read or do anything.
It's funny because she's not in her like TED Talk mode. She has like a little bit of a audiobook voice, but it's so well written. It could be read by somebody who was just reading monotone, and it would probably be just as effective.
Yeah, she's an immensely talented writer, wonderfully rich and deep heart. I love her and her work to pieces, and this has long been on my list. I just got to get on this. So, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. All right. So
check it out. Yeah. And I heard recently about your pick of the week. It's been floating around. A lot of people are jumping on board with this.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly little thing that's also simultaneously very, very awesome. And I discovered it like a year ago, and I started using it like a year ago. And I think I invited you to it, AJ. I'm not sure if that email invite ever got to you or not. It's a task list manager, to-do list type thing. It's web-based, app-based, digital, whatever you want to call it. But it gamifies things by basically putting your to-do list in the context of a sort of old school RPG, an old school role-playing game. And it's called Habitica. So I'm sure some of our listeners have heard of it. You can find it on habitica.com. There's a free version that you can do, and then there's also like a $5 a month version you can do to unlock extra features. And it's just a fun way of sort of playing a game as you stay productive. And I'm always, sort of tweaking my systems and seeing, what's going to provide the sort of optimal situation for me. And things work for a while, and then I'm looking for something more as I sort of evolve. And lately I've just been like really having this hankering to play a game. It's just a fun little thing. You can team up with friends, and you basically plug in your to-do items. You can do habits. You can do, negative and positive habits. You can do to-do items. You can do dailies, and you can assign a sort of difficulty level. And then as you check them off, your little avatar character guy will gain gold. He'll gain experience points, and you can, hatch eggs that you discover on your, quote unquote quest of productivity, and you can unlock new armor and things and backgrounds for your kids. It's just a cheesy, fun little thing that gamifies your everyday to-do list. And I love Todoist. I love my little Moleskine notebook. I love Coach.me. These are all sort of the same thing. But Habitica adds that layer of gamification to it that I'm really enjoying.
It's so cool.
So AJ, you should sign up, dude, and we can be in a guild together. We can actually go slay monsters together by being productive. If you sign up, let me know, and we'll connect in the system, and then we'll be in like a tribe together.
I have 0 games on my phone right now, 0, including no Pokemon Go. So I think, Habitic. This is me. I'm literally typing it into the App Store.
Yeah, there's an app for it, and you can also. I right now I've only been doing it for a couple of days, but I use a combination of the app and the web interface. the website. I just kind of have it open in a tab as I go through my work throughout the day. All right, so that's Habitica and Big Magic. We do have a listener pick of the week that we're going to shelve and talk about next week because we're out of time. But make sure you check out Habitica. If you like it, shoot us a tweet and let us know, and we'll team up on there. So today's episode of Inside Acting was produced and co-hosted by me, Trevor Algatt, and AJ Meyer. Jen Levin is our production coordinator. Gadali Gubarek is our marketing and web director. Deborah Smith is our community manager. Timothy Patrick Waterman is our director of public relations. Trevor Algatt, that's me, mixed and edited today's episode and composed our theme and interview music and our logo. That thing, all versions of it were designed by the contagious Fern Lim. Contagiously enthusiastic and giddy. Not contagious.
You can sign up for our weekly email dispatch and listen to all of our episodes at our website, insideacting.net. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and iTunes. Go ahead and leave us a review on that there iTunes if you'd like. You know, it's like putting a little tip in our tip jar because it helps other people find the show as well.
Big thanks to our sponsors, Rehearsal Pro and VO2GoGo.com, and a big thanks to you, our listeners. If you dig this show and you want to maximize its value and in your life and career and support the continued production of it, you can sign up as a member or make a one-time donation. But if you sign up as a member, you get cool perks, like you get access to our membership message board, you get cool freebies, you get invites to exclusive member meetups and outings and mastermind groups and all sorts of stuff. Just visit insideacting.net and click on the membership tab.
And that is all she wrote for episode 244 of Inside Acting. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, believe in magic.